Hi, Dyersburg First United Methodist Church family and friends. My name is Mary Beth Bernheisel. I'm one of the pastors here for this wonderful church community. And I'm coming to you because I want to let you know that the Back to Worship team that has been established to help us think about how we're going to return to in-person worship in our sanctuary is making plans for our return to in-person worship on June the 21st. Please know that this is a tentative date. We may receive instruction that we need to withhold or suspend in-person worship for longer than that. But right now, we are working with faith and hope that June 21st is our first day back in the sanctuary. I have sent a pastoral letter to every household in the congregation, and I hope that you will take time to read that. It's a little long. I think it has information in it that you will find helpful and will help you celebrate the work that your church family has been doing in this time when in-person worship has been suspended. But I also wanted to make this video to give you the digest version of the letter. As we prepare to return to in-person worship on June 21st, there are two things that I am asking of the congregation. The first is to remember and take seriously John Wesley's admonition to the people called Methodists to do no harm. Any changes that we make to in-person worship come directly from our gospel mandate to protect and care for the most vulnerable among us. Our congregation has lots of vulnerable populations. We have elderly folks, we have folks who are receiving cancer treatment, we have people who are immunocompromised, and we have people who just have anxiety about being ill. And those are the people that we are commanded to care for first and foremost. The second thing I am asking is that you share with our Back to Worship team your plans for returning to in-person worship. And I hope we've made that as easy for you as possible. You will be receiving a survey from the church. It's short, it's sweet, it asks for your name, and it asks you to tell us whether you will be returning to in-person worship when we resume, or whether you'll be waiting a while to come back to in-person worship. And then it asks you to tell us how many people we can expect from your household to join us for in-person worship. But before you make that decision, the Back to Worship team wants to help you visualize what in-person worship will look like, because it's going to look different than it did before we stopped meeting together in our sanctuary. First, people who choose to attend will be strongly encouraged to wear a face mask. For those who choose not to, there will be a separate part of the sanctuary where we will seat you. If you forget your cloth face mask or you don't have one, we will be happy to provide one for you. Everybody who chooses to attend will receive a brief health screening before entering the church. We'll take your temperature with a no-touch scanner, and we'll ask you some general questions about how you're feeling. We'll ask that everyone is seated only with our household unit and maintain 6 feet between their household unit and other household units. And in addition, that everyone will maintain a 6-foot distance between themselves and anybody that they do not live with. There's some other things that will be a little bit different than they were the last time we worshiped together. Sunday school classes will not meet for the time being inside of our church buildings. If you need ideas about how to connect, please contact us at the church and we'll help you with suggestions. Nursery and children's church will not be available, but that doesn't mean that we don't want you to come if you have babies and small children. Tori will be sending out ideas for how to create ways for your children to be engaged, and if all else fails and your children cry and squirm and wiggle and run around, we will just be glad that you are here, and we will thank God for their presence with us and that they feel at home in our sanctuary. We will not be singing as a congregation. Data shows that singing is a super spreading event, and so we will be sharing other creative ways to enjoy the gift of music while we worship. And we will ask those in attendance to keep from congregating in areas of the church and to remain spread out. One of the ways we're going to facilitate the spreading out is that we're not going to have coffee and refreshments available, so fill up before you come. There are some final things that I ask you to consider. Many of you will not feel comfortable returning to in-person worship right away, and that is a faithful response to the time in which we live. We hope that you will join us in worship as we live stream and as we provide other ways for connecting via our social media and technology. If you feel sick at all, or if you've traveled to a place that's considered a COVID-19 hotspot, we ask that you stay home and worship with us online. If you need any other information from the church that will help you make an informed decision about whether it's time for you to come back to in-person worship or not, just let us know at the church and we'll help you make that decision. So there are two things that I want to leave you with, two things that I'm asking you to do. One, please read the letter that you receive from the church. If you haven't gotten it, call us at the church and we'll make sure that you get it. And the second thing is to return the Back to Worship survey. Your Back to Worship team is going to have a lot of decisions to make, and one of them is going to be how many church services we will need in order to accommodate everyone who wants to attend. But we can't decide that until we know how many households are going to choose to attend and how many people in those households are going to be with us. So we need you to turn that back in right away, as soon as possible, so that the Back to Worship team continue its plans. And then at a later date, closer to June 21st, we will send out very detailed information about what you can expect when you come to church, when you worship at church, and when you leave church. But it all depends on when we hear from you. So please return that as soon as possible. I'm so excited about returning to in-person worship with you in our sanctuary. I pray that you're safe and healthy and well, and that you are experiencing the sweet presence of the Holy Spirit in everything that you do and every day.